Okay, call to order the regular meeting of the East Grand Forks Economic Development Authority. Today is Tuesday, October 20th. It's 12 noon. Brenda, can you call roll?
Black.
Mr. Black, can you hear us? Can't hear you. You're on mute.
Black.
I couldn't hear Brenda.
Okay.
I could hear you, though.
Okay.
I'm here.
Johnson. Blair.
Here.
Pokrzywinski.
Here.
Hecht.
Here.
Grinde.
Here.
Helms.
Here.
Okay.
Okay. First item is approval of minutes for September 1st, 2020, regular meeting.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Grinde, second by Hecht. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. Item number 3, bills and communications, review of accounts payable for September 15th, 2020. B, review of accounts payable October 6th, 2020. And C, approval of accounts payable for October 20th, 2020. We need a motion to approve the accounts payable for 2020.
Move approval.
Okay, moved by Blair,
Second.
second by Grinde. Any questions or discussions about any of these items? Call roll.
Black.
Yes.
Blair.
Yes.
Pokrzywinski.
Yes.
Hecht.
Yes.
Grinde.
Yes.
Helms.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, item number 4, reports, delinquency update.
We have none.
No delinquencies, once again, good. B, financial reports, August and through September, August and September. Hello, Carla. You're on mute.
Oh, thanks.
There we go.
We have normal activity for all the accounts. I sent copies of all the accounts for the EDA accounts for August and September. The only difference in like the cash balances you'll notice is that we did get the deed loan, which is a new loan for a match that we did to Delisle Properties. So there is actually another account in the cash balances accounts. And otherwise, it's all normal activity. And unless you have any questions.
Anybody have any questions for Carla?
If I could explain just a second, because the original deed funds we have that are in our revolving loan fund are almost totally unrestricted in their use, but in general, when you get a loan that goes through deed, goes to one of your businesses, we recapture a portion of that loan and retain a portion of that loan for reuse in our community. Those funds are restricted to use for industry only, so they have to be segregated. That's why the other account had to be set up.
And how much was that?
It's a $150,000 loan, and I don't recall how much we are going to get out of that.
Okay.
The more we do on things like this, the more we can build that account. But that was actually the first time we've ever used deed MIF, Minnesota Investment Fund financing for any project to supplement any local financing.
We are paying back to deed monthly. There's a monthly payment to them. So it actually comes from the payment we get from the business, and then we actually send a payment to deed.
And then we retain a part of it for ourselves as well, yes.
Okay, so they pay us, it flows through us, and we
Yes.
forward it to
The
deed.
business pays us, we pay deed out of the proceeds that we have received, and we retain part of that, and that's how we're building that fund.
It's like protection money.
I'm not going to go there.
Okay. Thank you, Carla. Anything else?
No, thank you.
All right. C, Director's Report. Paul, have you been busy?
Oh, yes, just a touch. And I appreciate the help you gave me when we went out and tried to get applications out to businesses. And anybody who's listening who hasn't gotten an application for round 2, get in touch with me. You can find my email and my phone number on the EDA webpage and the city's web webpage systems. So just get in touch with me. I can get you the application. Also on the EDA webpage, there are links to an explanation for Round 2 and to the Round 2 application in case you wish to do it that way directly and save some time. Okay?
Yep, just to highlight this, it is very important that businesses know that this is available money. They're grants, not loans. You don't have to pay them back. If you've been harmed by the economic circumstances surrounding the coronavirus, this is what the federal government has sent us to help in a small way or in a significant way our local businesses.
And Round 1 was restricted to expenses, but Round 2 is expenses, new businesses that opened up after March 1st, and it also gets into net losses. And note that's net losses that if we have enough money available, we can help to reduce a little bit of the pain that we're all feeling from this.
The other thing, while we're speaking of this, there is a deadline. It's October 30th.
October 30th is the deadline.
It's a tight deadline.
It's a very tight, because we're going to turn around and ask the EDA to meet on the 5th to approve the loans, because the money has to be out the door from the city by November 15th. November 15th is a Sunday. We're not going to be printing checks, I'm sure, on Sunday. I'm sure we're not going to do it on Saturday. So we need to get them done so we can get them to the city council on November 10th. Okay?
And just to confirm there, Paul, that's a grant, not a loan, right?
It is a grant, not a loan. That's correct.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Grant, no payback. The only time you have to pay back is if an expense is disallowed.
And I think we have approximately $400,000
Yes.
potentially remaining if we have that many requests. So it's a significant amount of money. So I would encourage any business that thinks they might be eligible to apply for it.
Or that had any expenses and didn't apply in the first time or whatever. It's there and it's available.
Continue on, sir.
I think Dale had a question.
Oh, Mr. Helms.
Thank you. This second round now, you're going to look at I hope you're going to look at the people first that didn't get on the first round?
The way I'm looking at I gave you a spreadsheet. The spreadsheet that I gave you is going to be expanded for expenses that were above $5,000. It's going to be expanded to include new expenses. It's going to be expanded to include new businesses. And it's going to be expanded to include what we'll get to net loss in terms of dollars and in terms of percentage. If you lost $100,000, for example, that's 100%, that's going to weigh very heavily. The way I anticipate is that we will deal with the expenses first, and after we're done with the expenses, we will go into the net losses of businesses. Mike, is that how you understand it?
Yes, absolutely.
And that the reason we're meeting on November 5th is to meet the deadline, and in November, we're asking if we can meet on November 5th so we can meet the deadline, and so that we can also include the working group at that meeting in case there are any policy questions on the kinds of things that should be approved or not approved. And that we may, ultimately at that, get into some discussion of relative losses for different businesses, because this one is going to be much more subjective than the first round. The first round was expenses. That's easy. This time it's going to be a lot more difficult trying to look at what businesses have gone through and who has suffered. And everybody has suffered, but what is relative for different businesses, Dale?
I think what you're asking is if they got it in this one, that they didn't apply for they couldn't or didn't fit into this category if they get first service.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, but I understand what he's saying, that they'll go, I guess he answered my question the way I'm kind of looking at it, because they'll go to the expenses first, and then they'll go to the
Yes.
lost revenue part. The other question I have is, who did you go to see what area did you cover for the applications when you went out?
We had, about 30 businesses for which we did not have emails. We split them and we walked and met with those
Door to door.
businesses.
We hand-delivered them
We hand-delivered them.
to those that we didn't have email addresses for.
And
We just didn't have them and didn't know how to find them, and so
those we couldn't find that way, we mailed. I addressed all the envelopes, put in the application, and mailed it to them.
Okay, well, I got the email on my phone, but if I can get a copy of that today, I'd appreciate it, because I can't get it out of my phone for some reason. I don't know why.
I will just make a note, send to Dale. Okay? And if you want to, Dale, if you go onto our website, you can actually hit a part of it and the application will download for you.
Why don't we just hand them one today before you?
I have to print one. Okay, you come on upstairs with me when we're done. I'll hand you,
Yeah.
I'll print one and give it to you.
Yeah.
But just in general, for anybody, go to the website.
Yeah.
There's a spot where you can go on and you hit here.
Click
It will
here.
take you to the website. It will take you to the application, print it.
Yeah, because I got the email, and just like I said, I've been trying, my daughter, we've been trying to get, I can't get it off my phone, I don't know why.
You may not be the only one like that.
Yeah,
It's
so-
just, everybody, that's the way to get to it and
Yeah.
get access to it.
Okay.
Or call me and we'll get it to you.
I had a question. So the first round was capped at 5,000. So will the second round look at people that had expenses that were over that 5,000 to still
Yes.
to make that whole?
Yes.
Okay.
Like I said, there's going to be a column for the overage, there's going to be a column for new, okay?
Okay.
So we're going to put all those, so if a business had $6,000, and there was, I know one that's got 6,100 of invoices that they presented to us, we can deal with the other 1,100, and I will create a new spreadsheet. I will use this and just to create a new spreadsheet for this, for round 2, and create those extra columns, so we can do this.
Diane, Blair?
Tacking under what Dale's question was, and you said there may be others out there, since we do have email addresses to the people that could be in Dale's situation, maybe just a quick email to them saying, don't forget the deadline. If you're having trouble downloading this, go to our website.
I anticipate having a reminder that will go out later this week and a reminder that will go out early next week. And then on the last one, I sent a reminder out on the deadline day as well.
But I'd add that you can download it from the website as well, so in
Okay.
case they're having problems getting it off. And we don't want them to get frustrated. And
Actually, what I do is I attach it to their email.
But Dale can
But
maybe
yeah, I
help
understand what
us
you're saying.
Yeah.
So I will put down the download from site.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good, really good. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
So that's, COVID is my life right now.
Yours and everybody's.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
Yeah,
You're lucky you got life, it pretty much took mine, so.
yeah, I know.
All right. Anything else under your report? Okay. So then we get everything then? Weekly updates, information filtering and distribution. We need to talk about any of that stuff?
No, it's what I send out,
That's
the
what-
emails I send out. I get
Okay.
information and
All right.
send out things that are important, and I try to keep from having the chaff go
Okay,
out.
unfinished business, none. New business, the CARES Act.
We've been talking about these things. Mike, do you want to talk about the working group? 'Cause you're
Yeah,
the chair?
and just for anyone who doesn't know, we set up a group, and it was kind of hastily thrown together with members of the city council and the EDA and staff to provide a good set of eyes and ears from both the EDA and the city council. And because of the time crunch we were under, this became kind of a nimble group that met not every Thursday, but a lot of Thursdays, and got us to where we are today. When questions would come up like Dale's and others today, we kind of hashed through those with that group. We have no power. One of the things that did come out of that discussion, the council president and the mayor felt that it was the EDA's authority to grant and approve these applications. It'll get final approval from the city council because they have to approve the check register that comes before them every month. So there's plenty of oversight over this. This this group will continue to meet and probably provide insight and direction to staff when it comes to the next round of applications that come through. I would guess that we're probably going to have more money in applications than we have available. It would surprise me if we didn't. So then we'll have to make decisions on how to distribute that fairly to the businesses that apply. Because not everybody's going to get the full amount that they ask for. And we got to make sure that we do that in a way that is equitable and not just arbitrary.
To the best of our ability.
Correct.
Exactly, yep.
And I will say, working with the working group, they are acutely aware of that responsibility and the responsibility of the EDA to approve.
And
they are acutely aware.
In case anyone doesn't know who is on that group, it's me and Mr. Grinde, Mark Olsted, the council president, and the mayor, Steve Gander. Carla's been involved, and David.
Tim Riopel.
Oh, that's right, Tim.
Tim was
Riopel.
there, yep.
Okay.
It's been going good.
Yeah, forgot
and
about
myself. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a good group.
Sorry, Tim.
It is a
It
really,
really
good
is. Minus
So-
Paul. No.
Well, you have to have your cross to bear, don't you?
It is a joke, bud.
All right. So any questions about the process and where we're at and what we should be doing? Mr. Helms?
I just want to make a comment. I'm glad to hear that it's been going good, because I know at the council meeting there were some pretty strong feelings about that extra $250,000, and so I'm glad that the city and EDA has come together and
Yep.
worked on this. So
Well, and I'll just comment on that. I watched that meeting, and I know Mr. Riopel had some comments, and he's been involved with the process, and I think it was a good thing to have someone who was a little bit skeptical of what we're doing. And I know the other comment that I remember is Mr. Vedder made a comment about not giving us this money until we knew that we needed it, and that is kind of how this is being done. We don't absolutely know that we're going to need it. I mean, I can't imagine that we won't. But if we don't get as many requests as the money we have, we aren't going to spend it all. We'll say, here,
Exactly.
council, take it back. Yeah, well, they haven't even given it to us yet. That's why the final step in the process is the council approving the checks before they're sent out.
Yep. Let me talk just a little bit about the process. What we're doing right now is I will review the applications and the materials for eligibility and to see if the materials that they're asking for compensation for fit within the categories, and if they look like they're possible that they could fit in, or based upon the information that are given to us by the applicant. We include them because it's easier to delete than it is to add. And then at times, there may be times when we get additional information that raises doubts on a particular expenditure. So what I do is I put together the check request form with the application and the receipts and give that to Finance Department. Finance reviews those. So there's another check on all of that. And if there's a question between the two of us, we talk about it to make sure that we understand what's going on, to see if I have additional information or whatever. And Carla, please feel free to chime in if I'm missing something, okay? But we do this because we want to make sure that we are using the best fiduciary responsibility that we can exercise. And then as we go through and start to look at the list today, there are a couple that there are some concerns, and we'll talk about those as we get to those. But basically, it's to do it this way. The Finance Department gets the check request form. They process it as they normally would process checks, and we'll create a check register for the City Council to approve ultimately. Carla, have I missed something?
No, and we just do due diligence, just like we do with any other payments. We check out the invoices to make sure they're complete. And we also have checked with the grant application to make sure that it falls within the guidelines of what we know with COVID expenses, since this has to do with COVID expenses. And we have spoke with the auditors, Brady Martz, if there's something questionable, what they feel, since they will be auditing our books and what they feel is acceptable or not, according to this round of applications.
But the biggest thing to remember is the EDA has been given the final responsibility. If there's anything in question, the EDA makes the decision. Okay? The EDA makes the decision. So, and
Are those decisions coming as a recommendation through the board or the?
my
the group
recommendation is based upon the spreadsheet that I gave you. So those are the check amounts that are being recommended to you, and you can accept or not accept. All the check request forms are based upon the amount up to $5,000.
Yep, I'm just saying that if there's a discrepancy that you said the EDA makes the decision on, is that decision first going to come as a recommendation from the group?
No,
Or
you
that's
guys
something that
make the
we are going
decision.
to
Come here.
sit down
You
and
make
look
the
at?
decision.
Staff recommendation from Paul's office.
To here.
The working group has not.
And also a recommendation from the finance department
Okay, yep,
that we give to Paul and Paul gives to you.
yep.
Okay.
Correct.
This morning, for example, and let's start heading into there. This morning, for example, Carla has raised, finance, I don't want to personalize it, finance has raised a couple of questions on items. Carla, I don't remember if I have given you the emails from the applicant on those. The applicant, the original decision was based upon the emails from the applicant, and I handed those out to you, those of you in the room today. For those who are not in the room, I will read for, with regard to Anytime Fitness, the applicant states in an email on October 8th, the toilets are non-touch automatic type. And then he followed up to more questions from me on October 19th. Yes, pressure assist and touch-free features. Okay, and because I'm not very nice sometimes because I ask questions. Okay, and Carla will ask questions too, so they get it from both of us. And then with regard to Cherry Berry, we installed new safes, so once the money is in, nobody has to touch it again. They bring the cassette with the money right to the bank for no human contact with our staff touching money. So that's the support information that was given to us by the applicant. And Carla, do you want to talk a little bit about the things that you found?
Yes, because on the invoice, the Anytime Plumbing invoice, it says install pressure toilets. And so we do this with our own invoices when they're own city expenses. And we were waiting for a reply from the person. So we did call the plumber, and they did not install touchless toilets. There are only the pressure toilets. And then the other one with the safe is that I talked with the auditors, and they're still collecting money in a normal way, and that their view was it's a safe keeping of money, it's not a mitigation of COVID.
I agree with that, too.
They still have to touch it.
Exactly, what's the difference?
Yeah. They just, it limits the number of times they touch it, but they're still touching it.
Yeah, I guess I'll if I can interject on that too. So what they stated on that is they still receive at the point of sale. They still have to receive the money and physically take it from the customer. What they're saying then is that then they put it into cassettes, or I believe is the term that was used, and then it goes into the deposit. So that's the last time that their employees have to touch it until it goes to the bank. So. Yeah, so the point of sale would still have that, but then according to them, then that would be the last time that any employees then would have to touch it until it's deposited. So, whether or not that's an allowable use, is certainly up for debate, and we could decide. But I just wanted to clarify that, so after the point of sale, they would not have to touch it any further.
So, and did they buy this
I
safe
say no.
after the COVID outbreak?
Yes.
With the intention of reducing the number of times that money is touched by their employees?
Well, according to what their response was, that it appears to be that's what they claim anyway, yes.
That's what they claim.
Yeah.
You would still have to give change, so you would still have to have a change box. If you came in with change, and I came in with $2, it was only $1.50, they would have to give me change back. So I'm assuming they still have a change box.
That to me, that's not relevant to whether or not this safe that reduces the number of touches of currency is.
It's a very gray area.
I'd be
Okay.
curious to know what their process was before, and if this was also implemented to reduce the possibility of theft from employees or theft,
Bingo.
period.
And we may never know that.
Yeah.
Let me point out one other thing. Before we will issue the checks, we have to have an agreement signed, and that Mr. Galstead has prepared, and it's great that we have it. And the agreement basically says that if in an audit the expense is disallowed, you have to repay us for anything we have to repay. So there is a clawback provision. It's not something that's easy to exercise. It's not something that we want to do, but it is there to try to keep people straight, in particular when they submit expenses.
Paul, can I explain the audit process?
Please.
So the federal government does not come and audit us. Our regular auditors do a single federal audit that is required by law over a certain dollar amount of federal dollars. So our regular auditors, the ones I asked about these expenses, are the ones who will be doing the auditing.
So
And
at this,
according to the information we have, like you said, it's very gray, and they looked at the grant application, which says this is strictly because of COVID expenditures.
so we have two expenses that we have to decide whether they should be included or not included in the group to be paid. The first one, let's deal with the first one, the toilets. It's $1,100. Basically, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I guess, didn't Carla say that they weren't touchless?
That's correct.
This email says they are. So is he lying?
The invoice states that they are installing pressure at toilets, and we did call the vendor, and they did not install touchless toilets.
So we have a discrepancy between what our information has found
I
and
guess
what the applicant said.
I would like something in writing that says, to protect us, that says they aren't touch-free, because we got something in writing that says they are.
Well, there's a copy.
No.
In here, you do have something.
Is there an invoice?
Yes, that's where it comes from.
Okay.
The invoice says pressure assist toilet.
Yes,
Yes.
not touchless. Pressure assist.
We have that documentation.
Okay.
It's in that email.
All right. Then I'd be fine with not including that.
Correct.
We need to, how should we handle the approval of this? Should we amend the two that we have and then approve the whole? We don't have to vote on each individual.
Unless our attorney advises us to vote on each one individually, I would
What I
suggest
think
you
would
vote
be,
as a group.
what I think would be fine is if you have any issues that you want to discuss, you're going to accept or deny, then just amend your list. And I think that so I would vote on whether or not a couple of these expenses qualify, and if not, then just reduce the amount of money.
Okay.
If they do, leave the amount of money as indicated. Or I guess in some cases, if they provided more expenses than the $5,000, you may have to adjust it based upon if the other expense is qualified.
Yes. For example, look at any time, and in the comments, you'll see what it would remain to be paid to Anytime Fitness if the plumbing is disallowed. because they had submitted more than $5,000 worth of expenses.
So
But they would
5250.
still have over $4,000 of eligible expenses.
So what I would suggest then is, so we have a clear record, that I would make an individual determination and vote on each of those expenses. And then we'll go back before we finalize this entire group, because I do have a couple of questions myself just on the numbers and if it's a
Same here.
typo.
I have a couple questions too.
Okay.
Typos, I mean, I would make
Can we
a typo.
should we deal with those questions first and then go with approval at the end?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, why don't you start, Mr. Galston?
Well, I mean, and I guess I'm not sure, I was just looking at one of these, it says, under Forever Young, it says the expenses that they submitted was 252809 or 08, but the allowable amount is 3,619.
What they provided is on the application form, they specified a certain amount. The invoices they provided were in excess of that.
So they
that
they
amount.
added
And they're
wrong?
eligible, they added wrong.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Well, I mean, well, then the expenses actually meet the amount.
That's
then-
right.
shouldn't-
What that one column is specifically, what did they put on their application as the proper amount?
Okay, I guess
And I
it
think
doesn't
we
say
need a
that.
note.
Yeah.
And I think we need a note that explains that, because that's the kind of things that I
That's like
picked
one
up.
of them, that was one of my questions on that
Yeah.
also.
One of my questions too.
And then the other question I have, not to pick on a specific business, but under Northdale Oil, you have office and Northdale Oil Store.
Yep.
Are those actually two separate businesses?
Yes.
Or is it
Yes.
is it two separate
Yep.
businesses?
Yes, they
Then I
are.
have no questions. If it's,
Yeah, their office is actually the old dental by Hugo's.
well, not locations,
You're talking.
No,
business.
they're different businesses.
Federal
Each of these,
You know, if it's the umbrella Northdale Oil, I've got one business and two locations. Or is it, I've got two different
Locations.
corporate structures that are separated out? Because I think then what you're doing is you're kind of double dipping, as opposed to giving the $5,000 to each individual business. What you're doing now is you're separating that out as to location, and I don't think that was what our guidelines were, and that was the reason for the question.
separate business. In fact, they asked me how, because they have a store in Bemidji, how Bemidji is handling it. And I said, I don't know. Each city is handling their CARES Act dollars
So, and if
differently.
it's separate businesses, I have no
Separate business.
question, because you can own separate businesses. I just was curious if it was an umbrella with separate locations or two separate businesses to qualify.
And since he's on that one, it says invoices predates eligible period.
I deducted that. I've already talked to them. There was an invoice that was dated March 4th. The date of beginning is March 16th. So I deducted that from the invoices they had submitted, and that is there as a net once that invoice is
Okay.
taken out. Okay.
All right. Mr. Black, did you have some questions?
No, I think the same questions that were brought up. I had concerns about the Northdale Oil as well, between the store and the office. When I was looking at it, I just want to make sure that those were separate businesses and not one business with two locations. So
Okay.
I think that was pretty well answered, so thank you.
Thank you.
And let me point out also, Inthanon, which is Little Bangkok, that they submitted finally a lot of invoices. And when I added them all up, the total was 6,100, not the 2,200 that they had originally said
So
they were
that's why
going to
you're giving them the 5,000.
That's right. I
And
looked to see what I actually got in invoices.
And I think that's the kind of note we need, Paul, with Forever Young, that just says they submitted invoices that totaled this, so then we can see why we paid them more than what they.
I just drew a line so I could make sure I do that.
Yep.
Okay.
And this is really petty, but the line above that for Ace Hardware, they submitted 10/16/55 and we're
Yep.
doing 10/16/57, so what does that mean? I
We
mean,
couldn't-
it's 2
there-
cents, but.
There's 2 cents, and we couldn't make it agree. And Mr. Buckaloo said, fine, We'll
You'll
just
take the
their
extra
number,
2 cents.
yeah. He'll get the extra 2 cents out of it.
Okay. I mean, it's just one of those things that I didn't quite understand what that meant.
Look at the 1030 for Great Expectations versus 1300. And we think that what they did is they actually did a transposition of the numbers on what they submitted.
Oh,
When I
sure.
talked with them. We think that's what happened. I can't say for sure, but we think that's what happened.
Okay.
And that's both us and Great Expectations, as I've worked with them on that.
Okay. Is that, anything else, Diane?
Oh,
No, those are the kind of things that I
Okay.
had
so we're
seen.
just back to the safe thing.
Do you
Safe
want
and-
to
safe and
approve the
toilets.
safe or not?
Plumbing.
Do you want to approve
The
the toilet or not?
toilets, I thought we just,
I think you need a motion to make it clear. I would
Yeah.
suggest, am
Well, I
I on
think
right? I think we need a motion to say yea or nay.
Because we clarify all the application stuff based on what they've submitted, and if we have the invoice that
States
states it
different.
wasn't, now, I wouldn't be obliged, so they can still come back in round 2 if they can prove different and ask for that money then, correct?
Yes.
So I would say because of what we have that documents and proves that it wasn't as of now, that we don't recommend it.
Is that a motion?
I'll make that motion, yeah.
I'll second.
And this is for the toilets?
The toilets.
Okay.
Correct.
And what was the business for that?
Anytime Fitness.
Anytime
That's
Fitness?
Anytime
It was for the toilet, not the safe?
Correct.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Hecht and a second by Mr. Grinde.
Nope, by Daniel.
Daniel.
Black.
Oh, by Mr. Black?
Yep.
Thank you. And let's call roll on this one. A yes means that we're denying, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so for the motion, I have that.
Why don't we do this? Yeah. Are you approving it, yes or no? If you're approving it, it's a yes. If you're denying it, it's a no.
I
Right.
have that for Anytime Fitness, we're denying $1,100 in plumbing expenses.
So it would be a
Then that
yes.
would be an affirmative.
So that would be a yes to deny?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. If you vote yes, they won't get the money. Everyone understands that. Okay, call roll,
Black,
Yes.
I think.
Blair,
Yes.
Pokrzywinski.
Yes.
Heck,
Yes.
Grinde,
Yes.
Helms.
Yes.
Okay, let's handle the safe one the same way.
I'll
Need a
make the
motion
motion
to
that we
deny.
do not approve it.
Okay.
Who's that for?
Cherry
Second.
berry.
That's for Cherryberry?
Cherry
It's
berry.
Cherryberry.
Cherry Berry for a safe.
I second.
Second by Blair.
And I think if they question it, we can say, if you can explain your system and how, maybe it was that they gave all the money to the bookkeeper, and then the bookkeeper had to count it, and now the bookkeeper
In a
doesn't
model
have
number
to.
so we can see what it is.
Yes.
Well,
Well-
I think we'd be opening up an issue too, though, if we allow something like that, because there's a lot of point of sale businesses in town that can say, well, then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to buy a safe like that, do the same thing. And yes, it does cut down on the amount of transactions and the time people touch the
But
money.
you're still doing it.
But you're also doing it to better your business as far as security wise.
Exactly.
And I think it has more security than it does.
Then it does
safety.
benefits for the COVID
And I think we would
reasons.
have a lot of people submitting potential
Yeah.
invoices
I
for
guess
something like this to protect their business from theft.
My question on that would be, would they have done it had it not been for COVID? That's, so,
And we may
So-
never
so-
know that answer.
Okay, well-
That's where I come from is, did they do it as a pure security standpoint? Have they had an employee that was taking money out of a till every once in a while?
That would
So,
never happen.
I look at it as it is a security issue that they're protecting their business more as well, but I do see your point as well.
$5,626.86. It is the fourth line down
That's
on
all
the
they requested money for.
spreadsheet. Yeah, it was one
Yeah.
invoice for the entire
and you've
amount.
got a question mark by that, safe. Okay. All right, call roll.
Black,
Yes.
Blair,
Yes.
Pokrzywinski,
No.
Heck,
Yes.
Grinde,
Yes.
Helms.
Yes.
Okay, Heck.
All right. Okay. Now, the next thing we need is a motion to approve the rest of these grant application
Please.
as amended?
Press, yes. Approve this as amended.
Oh, go ahead.
I'll second you, Josh.
Amen.
Okay.
Whoever.
Motion by Grinde, second by Blair. It's kind of a tie, so.
Well, you have two motions and no second then, right?
And
I just think it is so exciting that we're able to provide some help and thank the city council for.
yeah, it's been stress-free, too.
Yeah.
Speak for yourself, man.
Call roll, please.
Black,
Yes.
Blair,
Yes.
Pokrzywinski.
Yes.
Hecht,
Yes.
Grinde,
Yes.
Helms.
Yes.
Okay.
How do you like the filing system, guys?
Yeah. All right.
Looks like a lawyer walking
Is
into a
AE2S
courtroom.
with us today? Paul?
Not enough boxes.
Dale has something to ask.
Oh, Mr. Helms.
Thank you. I'd just like to say again that I hope the businesses in East Grand Forks trust and stand behind the people who are making these decisions as far as with the city council and the EDA working together and the board that's working on approving these, that I hope they understand that they're doing the best that they can do to try and help everybody a little bit if possible, and I hope that the businesses of East Grand Forks understand that might not get what they think, but I guess if they get anything at all, then it's better than nothing. So I hope they understand that the board and both parties are trying to work this out and make everything so it works for
Amen.
everybody.
And when I talk with the owners of those businesses, I will point out that if they can provide additional documentation, we can deal with it in round two. And these were the issues that were raised, so we can deal with it.
And
that
it
way.
does say in there too, I mean, there's nothing guaranteed on that application.
Right. But,
And that was one
giving
thing.
them the right to appeal, I think, would be only fair.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. AE2S report, are they here?
Oh, it's included in your packet.
Oh, okay, they aren't going to give us.
They're not going to talk to
Okay.
us today.
All right. It is in the packet, so does anybody have any
You
questions?
need to do something before you get there, though.
What?
We need to move the November meeting from the 10th
Oh,
to the 5th.
thank you. Yes, in order to get this next round of applications approved, we need to meet on Thursday, November 5th. That's 2 days after the election. We can't meet on a Tuesday that week because of the election. So we need to take action on that. Do we need a motion for that? Okay.
However you want to do the.
Yeah, let's
for the
do
meeting. I would
a
suggest a motion.
motion and a voice vote.
I'll
To-
move.
Moved by Hecht, second by Grinde, to move our meeting in November to the 5th.
Which is a Thursday.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay. That's when we will be together again.
Thank you.
Okay, the report from AE2S, the third quarter analytics, it's in your packet. Mr. Gordy, would you want to give us a
I haven't thought
quick
about
summary?
it.
You haven't thought about it?
No, I'm sorry,
I haven't either.
because I've been dealing with all of the other stuff. It shows that we have a steady increase in followers. Because there hasn't been a lot of news because of the COVID, we don't have as many page views as we've had in the past. One of the things that's pointed out, and I talked with our consultant, that I'm going to be taking information from the regional market capture group that's specific to East Grand Forks, or that's good for the area, and include that in like a fact of the week type thing that we can now start to put onto here. And she said that she would help me to do those things, to get that done, so we can share information, and that should increase the views. But that may not occur until after we're done with getting the round 2 done, okay? And that, we know we have a deadline on that. But it's just a case of having time available to work on it. That's one of the things. The other thing is, I promise you, I am going to get you in mid-November with questions, like I have said I was going to do for the last couple of months, and those will also be put onto here, and that should also include our page views. Okay? And that should also include the reach and the engagement. So does that help?
All right. Any questions on that? All right. All right, looking ahead to next year, Paul has provided a tentative schedule for meeting dates for 2021. And we need to vote on this.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Is there any problem date? And Ron, this is based upon your historic court dates on every other Tuesday? And who knows what's going to happen. So we may have to make an adjustment if that changes, but that's where we're at. And knowing that we sometimes don't meet in December, and the November 5th meeting needs to be devoted to round 2 on the CARES Act, I decided that maybe we should get this out of the way today.
Move approval of recommended dates.
Motion by Blair.
Second.
Second by Hecht. Any other discussion? We can just do a voice vote on this. Before we vote, I'll take this opportunity to let everybody that doesn't know that I won't be here for these meetings. This will be the last year that I'll be on the EDA board. I'm stepping down. When I took this appointment after my service on the council, it's a 5-year term. I never intended to stay more than 2 or 3 years after I got off the council, but I did feel very strongly about sticking around past my service on the council. So letting everybody here know ahead of time, the mayor knows that he needs to fill this appointment for next year, but you'll also have to elect a new chairman for next year. So be thinking about that, start campaigning.
Yeah, are you going to be somebody's campaign manager?
So anyway, that's I thought this is a good opportunity for me to get this out there for everybody. So in case I've talked to a few of you about it, and so there's that. So all in favor of the 2021 schedule signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Approved. Thank you.
Are you voting on that?
Motion to adjourn. What?
Are you voting on that one? Since you're not gonna be
wait.
here?
I got one other thing too.
Yeah. I'll go with Mr. Black first.
I was just going to say that the Regional Capture Committee, we have started meeting again. We did have a meeting last month, and we have another one actually later this afternoon. So we are working with the data that we got from the Buxton report. So I just kind of wanted to give a little update on that I know COVID kind of slowed everything down for that, but we have started back up again, and we are looking at what we can do with that data and help the businesses here and also potentially attract some new ones. So.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Black. Thank you for your service on that committee. I know it's been a lot of time and effort put into it, so thank you. Carla, go ahead.
I was just going to see if Paul wanted to talk a little about a round 2. Him and I talked a little bit about maybe getting some additional help to go through all of those finance statements and such. So Paul and I talked about, maybe you want to talk about that, Paul.
On round 2, because of the quantity of dollars involved and the anticipated volume of applications, and because we're talking about net losses is not something that either Carla or I work on an ongoing basis. So what we were thinking is maybe we should have an outside party review that portion of the application, and then if we don't have enough time to carry over everything else, we may have to ask them to assist us on that as well, and use some of the COVID dollars, CARES Act dollars for that, because it's a direct CARES COVID type expense. And it's just a case of we need to be able to expand our staff capabilities at that point, and we don't have the kind of resources available with the short, the closing date of October 30th and a review date on November 5th. That's a very, very short time, and it's going to be almost impossible to get it done. It will be impossible to get things done unless we have help.
I did suggest this to Paul because I think it is important that we do this right.
Yes.
And not under the sort of time pressure that his time is limited. Any idea what kind of costs we'd be looking at?
I'd have to defer to Carla on that. I don't know.
Is there an hourly rate?
I got a question.
Go ahead. Ron, go ahead, Ron.
Well, when you end up talking about net loss, you're going to need an accounting firm to go through that because you're going to have to go through all of their tax returns. You're going to have to go through and find out what type of depreciation schedules that they use. You're going to have to figure out all kinds of the expenses. And depending upon the number of applications you get, you're not going to get that done without hiring
Accountant.
a big group of people to do it. And there could be a significant cost to that. So
And it's basically only 4 days to do it because the 30th is on a Friday.
Yep.
And the 5th is on a Thursday, so we'd have to ask them to basically work for us Monday, Tuesday, and possibly Wednesday just to get them all done.
Yep. Yeah, Ron, that's why, because it's outside of what we have the capabilities and capacity to accomplish within the time frame that's available to us.
But I agree with Ron that it's got to be an accountant because.
That's what we're talking about.
Talk about Brady
We're not talking about anything
Brady
other.
Mart's, okay.
I don't think Brady Mart's can do it, right, Carla? Because they are our accountants.
Yes, they can do it. It's just the people that do our auditing would have to be somebody else. So they're actually from
That's
the
fine.
Thief River Falls office.
Okay.
We can get people from Grand Forks to do it.
They're a big
I
firm.
mean, even, what about Vetter's office even too?
But only that he's on his own, we could check, but, I'm thinking we're gonna
it's
need
just him then?
2-3 people working
Okay.
full-time for a couple
Yeah,
days.
no.
Yeah. This is a really big job.
No, but
for a
I
couple
didn't
of days.
realize he was on his own. I just thought if we had
Yeah.
another
I thought about that.
firm
It's on the
also,
it's
you
on the
know.
council too, so.
Yeah, oh, that's true.
Clarence actually doesn't have independence because he's on the city council.
Got it. I forgot about that.
I'm thinking we could spend a lot of money for accountants and lose a lot to go to the businesses.
That's
Would
my-
this be a COVID expense, hiring these accountants? I'm just curious.
Yes.
We could apply
Yes.
for a
That's an
grant.
eligible expense on this.
Dale, with regard to
yeah.
what your thoughts were, if we don't have the capacity and can't do this, we're going to lose all this money anyway.
Yes.
And nobody's going to see anything. It's better to get them most of what we have, in my opinion, than it is to just say, we can't do this and we give all the money back.
Well, I'd like to see a dollar amount from whoever you have do it, because I don't want them to, I guess I don't want to see you paying these people $120 an hour, and have work on them for, 3 days and have a huge bill and all that money's coming out of the,
Off the top.
off
We
the
agree.
top.
We agree
To
with
me,
you.
that's, as far as I'm concerned, you're throwing it out the window.
And I understand that too, Dale. I just want to make sure the I's are dotted and T's are crossed.
Oh, there's no doubt,
because there's so many games that can be played.
I think that, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I think anybody that's going to turn anything in that's got any significant loss is going to be, I would think, pretty self-explanatory.
Yes and no. We'll talk after.
I will be
It's a
glad
lot.
to show you some of the files in here and show you the way I get things. Some firms are very highly organized. They gave me spreadsheets on what their expenditures, and I could go down and checklist one by one for their expenditures, for their 100-plus invoices that they gave me. And there are firms that just put together their invoices, put them, paper clipped them to the thing, and said, here you go, figure it out.
Just
But
even the short
couldn't the
list.
people that's going to apply for revenue loss, couldn't they just go to their accountant and get the paper that, and isn't that the same thing as hiring somebody to come in and look at it? Because that accountant's bound by
'cause-
law and he's the one that's doing everything correctly.
We're
It's
asking
like
for
Ron
a
said with
P&L.
all the different statements, it can be manipulated pretty easily with where things are put on your statements. And my whole concern on all this is going to be if we actually get all the information we need to even properly do it. We're going to be under such a time crunch with only a couple days to have this even audited and looked at. What happens to the ones that we don't have all the information? We got to go back and get it from them, and I think we're going to get a lot of it that we're not going to get the accurate information, and then to get it in time as well.
Well, let's just look at down this line, the math errors on $5,000.
Yeah.
Your accountant is putting his name and his job on the line. He's not, if you went and told your accountant, I want you to change this and make it look good.
No,
I'll bet
I'm
you
not
$100
saying.
bill right now, he's not gonna do it for you.
I'm not saying that an accountant's gonna manipulate something to make it look different. I'm just saying, like what Ron said, is your depreciation schedules and everything else that shows for write-offs can make a difference on
Make or break.
net income or not. So I'm not saying that anybody's gonna manipulate things to try cheat anything. I'm just saying you actually have to dig through all their financials to find out what actual expenses were, what depreciation was. It's not a simple look at a bottom line number. They did this last year and they've done this year.
We have
What
suggested
happens
P&Ls.
when you're going with net loss, you would actually add back in all the depreciation.
Yeah.
Because that's that's not a financial loss, that's a paper
Monopoly.
adjustment. You know, so then you have to start adding
Hey,
that.
Ron, can you get a little closer to your microphone and speak?
I'm sorry. What I was just trying to say is that, just for an example, nobody has to be trying to manipulate anything other than with a net loss, you actually have to add back in like your depreciation to make those types of determinations. So you could have many more depreciable items this year than you had last year, and you have to account for all of that stuff if you're actually going to go look through a net loss. And there's a lot more to it. That's a very simplistic one example. But
How much money do we have in the second round, do you think?
Roughly 400,000.
And I just did some rough numbers. If we had paid $120 an hour for 3 days for 3 people, 8 hours a day, we're looking at about $8,500, if I did my math right. I mean, I think if we spent $10,000 to ensure that we're doing the right with the 400,
Yep.
I think it's good due diligence on the money. I'm not sure the council was going to accept that because there was some concern with, how the money is being spent anyway. But I think it shows that we are concerned and that we are trying to be the best people that we can and do the best we can do.
and I don't know, Carl, if you think that I'm right or wrong or indifferent, but I think.
Well, no, actually, by taking the depreciation out, it might benefit businesses because the difference between one year and the other with the depreciation on the picture could give you a totally different picture. And then the people might actually have more of a loss in this year and it would benefit them.
Correct.
But we're all agreeing that it needs to be done right.
Correct.
Yes.
And I agree with Diane. I mean, I'm guessing 15,000 max.
I don't think it'll be that much.
But I mean, if it was 15,000, it's worth it.
Is this
Again, I'm
something
not
we can
arguing
get
the
the
fact that
working
we
group
should
to look
do
at?
Yeah, we
Get
will.
back to us?
The working group, no, because there's no time on that, Daniel.
No.
The working group doesn't meet again until the 29th.
Okay.
So,
Because, I mean, I like, talking to, we have somebody who has more accounting experience, I think, than most of us is Carla, and I like what she's saying about it. The money is the money. At the end of the day, we got to make sure that we do this right, which is a bigger thing. We don't want to have the appearance that we're giving favoritism to any business and having a third party look at it. We're going to have to spend the money to do it. I don't have a problem with that. I'd rather see the money go than have to return it back to, the county or the state.
So do we need a motion for this?
I think that would be nice.
Yes, let's get a
Paul and I
motion.
can talk to Brady to even get an estimate to start with. I guess the other big thing is if we somehow can encourage people to turn them in as soon as they're done and early so we can get a start on it,
It eliminates some
that
of
would
that.
be,
Get some out of the way.
Yeah.
immensely helpful.
I have about 10 in right now, plus the overages on here, which now there are 7 of them because of the one issue.
Yep.
Okay, we need
Again,
a
I'm not
motion.
against the fact that you want to get somebody to help do this. That's absolutely fine. I'm not against that. All I basically was getting at was the fact of
Right.
the dollar amount. We need to put some kind of a max dollar amount or
That's-
something somehow so that we just don't give all this. I'm thinking as a businessman, when you got money, you just don't give it away. You make them
Nope.
earn it.
You're right.
I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. And
Let's get an
so-
estimate Because,
You know-
the things we're talking about is $10,000, $15,000.
I think we should pass a motion to authorize.
I'll
going
make a motion to authorize up to 15,000.
I'll second that.
Motion from Grinde, second by
And
Hecht.
if you get something different,
Hopefully they don't use it all.
exactly.
I don't think, I don't think.
Excuse
we'll
me,
need that much.
go ahead.
Go ahead, Carla.
The other thing we can do is that when Paul gets the packet, we can take the name off it. If people are comfortable with that, we do that when we interview people, when have people look through their files and stuff, so they don't even have a clue who the business is.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to do it that way, but that's always an option.
I don't think we need to. I mean,
No, it doesn't really
No.
matter.
that Brady's deals with confidential information every single day. That's
Yes.
Yep.
And
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We need a roll call vote.
Black,
Yes.
Blair,
yes.
Pokrzywinski.
Yes.
Hecht,
Yes.
Grinde,
Yes.
Helms.
Yes.
Thank
You need a
you.
motion to adjourn.
I was just going to mention real quick, besides all the COVID things, Paul and I are also serving on the land use update
Oh.
for the city.
Thank you.
So we've had one meeting, and we'll continue that process.
Just a diversion as we go through all of this.
Oh,
isn't
it's
it?
just so much more.
And
I'm so
It's
glad
more
that you are
excitement than I could
participating.
handle, so I'm glad you
It is.
Oh,
All right.
Yeah.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion. I'll make it.
Motion by Black, second by Hecht. All in favor, say aye.
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 We are adjourned.